Good morning, YouTube. So, super early, waking up, so a little slow. So bear with me here. This morning, I want to introduce another early sculpture, and then, per my usual, I'll step away for a moment, turn the rotating platform off, and get back to sharing some of what this channel is ultimately about. With no further delay, here is Top Hatter. So this sculpture is about 14 inches tall, 9 to 10 inches at the widest points. This is solid pewter, no masses big enough for any hollow spaces. This is about a 4 to 5 piece mold, so that means there's 4 or 5 separate plaster and silicon eggs, so to speak, for this piece. So a metal fabricator's dream come true, in no uncertain terms. There's no narrative story behind this piece other than pure creative expression. The Top Hatter is part rabbit and part caterpillar, and it has wings. So the idea here is that it's emerging from the cocoon, something I did not mention in my art-only channel introduction of this piece. This sort of tall tower of teeth, that is a botanical from the world that the Top Hatter exists in. And down below there are these sort of semi-land oceanic urchin-like beings, let's say. And there are three distinct sentient beings in this piece. Top Hatter himself, or itself, and then this little guy coming around on the right. He's hanging around. There's a stairwell or sort of a slide path going up to the vertical area where Top Hatter's sitting. And a little door you can see there at the base, at the bottom of the spiral design going upwards. Little fairy house on the far left corner there. This piece is available direct from the studio. Shipping will be meticulous and private, as far as shipping it private, not by a normal carrier, and crated, not in a cardboard box. This will be a special handling situation. And this is edition 1 of 1. So when I cast a piece, it's ultimately to get it from the void into the third dimension. So all the molds of my early works are hollow, of course, and the original wax that the piece was made in has been long ago recycled and made into other sculptures. And it's been archivally sealed, so no oxidation for the next 75 to 100 years. Every clear coat eventually wears down, but not in our lifetime. That will be up for archivalists to deal with at a later date. When I make pieces, one of the things I enjoy is not thinking, simply being in the zone and watching things happen. Not having a specific itinerary in mind as far as being in control of the narrative or what means what am I trying to say, what do I want to say, any of that. Taking a break from such things. So in a way, this is where I go to be me without my name and social security number and physical address. So I'm going to switch back over and get into a few things I want to share this morning. So again, this is top hatter emerging from its cocoon. And I will switch back over to the large screen here. And be right back. I always wonder about my camera focus because my eyeballs aren't what they were when I was in my early 20s. So sometimes when things look out of focus, it's because I'm out of focus. I think we're good. So, as I was saying in my previous video on my art only channel, I got up at 5:30 this morning, and I'm kind of hanging in there, trying to get on a different schedule. I've been doing night owl videos up until 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and maybe that needs to change. We'll see how it goes. I heard a speech today by James Tallarico at a commencement, and I wanted to just share a few things around that for the record. I felt like it was a good shout out to everyone, not just the younger generation. As far as transparency around the 1%, the wealth inequality in this country, which is something that was imported from the UK, namely England and France too. Why not? These sort of kings and serfs, that whole Duke of this and Earl of that, and kings and queens and knights, and then the serfs. This system's been around for a very long time, and It's in other countries as well, of course. Um, Jordan, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, UAE, India uh, has a a caste system that is 2 to 3,000 years old. Um, if you really want to dig deep into classism and inequality, it's not just some sort of medieval idea. Uh, these systems have been around for a very long time, and it's in a sense it's mammalian. It's primordial. It's a primordial instinctive, uh, like chickens have pecking order. If you want to trace the actual biology of this enterprise down to the animal kingdom, and it's just ultimately a hobby of the human being to make it poetic or story like, but ultimately its roots are in the mammalian order of things. Not that that's an ironclad order. It's something that could be changed if the human being wills it. Um, that's one of our talents, is willing things that are otherwise in nature perpetually on autopilot. So in this speech that James gives, I understand the reasoning around attaching religion to ideas of decency, reasoning, morals, and ethics. But at the same time, it doesn't have to be connected. This is more around constituents reaching out. It's more like a commercial or advertising device to attach it to religion. But morals and ethics and principles, reasoning, waking up, whatever you want to call it, it's been around long before religion. Um, in my opinion, um, a non-secular approach will eventually need to be deemed just as worthy, if anything, more foundational than a possible alluding to being dependent upon religion to buttress to buttress it up. Sometimes people will assume that one thing is connected to another and that they're interdependent on each other. But you don't need religion to be a moral human being. Um, in some sense, religion may be for certain individuals like training wheels. And then once you learn what you need to learn, and then you move forward from that training wheel experience or not. To each his own. This is not an anti-religious share early in the morning. I'm just putting it out there that underneath religiousness is a neutral ground, foundational arena where the self exists as it did when it was a child, when it was innocent and simply itself. Perhaps even before it learned to notice its name being called out. And in some instances, its only care in the world is caring itself. So I'm just simply encouraging people to not forget that being a good person does not need a cheerleader or a safety deposit box or proof of concept in symbols and additional decoration, let's say. Your actions and deeds are enough. And ultimately, the epidermis that enshrouds everything that supports you being alive and manifesting as yourself is the original church. An empty church is simply a building. And a lot of people say this about individuals when they go to their wakes. They see the remains. And many times beyond the emotional trauma that people are experiencing, and they're sort of caught up in that, and rightly so, many people will come in a more stoic frame of mind and be able to see things as they are outside of that more reactive place that some people are in, which is not a bad thing, just and not using the word reactive in the sense of YouTube videos, but simply looking and seeing what was, and they say, well, he's gone. He's not there anymore. That's not him. That they notice that it's a fossil, that a fossil is not an indication of proof of concept in the sense that it's just an imprint, that the true identity is no longer there, which makes for an interesting conversation at some point in time. How that is, I think it implies a lot more than what's obvious. So we're in a pause these days in some regards, waiting to see what happens. And in some respects, that's the normal case of being a citizen and not part of the 1%, manipulating and feeding off of a kind of baked in apathy. But I feel like that's going to change. I feel like there's a saturation point that we've met, and I'm feeling it in presentations that people are giving. There's something coming down the pipeline, and we shall see. I mean, I doing my part the best I can, and supporting people, and that's what we can do. in our small ways is speak the truth. And if you're speaking on subjects, investigate those subjects. Make sure that the historical record supports your claims, and not just one historical record, but 5 or 6, because often historians are also propagandists, and not everything on Wikipedia is fact-checked and true. So have 3 or 4, maybe 5 sources for what you feel you know to be true. It's a pretty safe place to be. And also you can use YouTube as a fact checker as well, that if you have an opinion about something, search someone else's opinion about the same thing and see what kind of homework they've done. Sometimes you can piggyback on other people's labors and help yourself to their wisdom and their offerings, and maybe even support their channel and give a shout out to them. I know, I mean, speaking of shout outs, I'm going to give a shout out to Norm Finkelstein, Eon Pape, Noam Chomsky, putting it out there that I know that Noam has been, his name came up in the Epstein files. I don't know exactly in what reference his name came up in the Epstein files, but I do understand that people lead semi-schizophrenic lives at times. Hypocrisy is often a hobby of intellectuals, and having a kind of Jekyll and Hyde existence is a kind of a coping mechanism for many people who do what they do. And let's just say that the moral judgment is appropriate. I would never diminish that. But I would like to point out that the messages and the information that Noam Chomsky dug up and compiled and presented to the world is still what it is. And in order to do that, whoever does that is, relatively speaking, expendable, because if you're a reasoned person and has a penchant for deep research and sort of a forensic eye for things, connecting dots, stating facts, building bibliographies that are longer than the actual book itself, which is a good thing. This function is just that. It's a function. It's a human function. And it's not to be heroized, like only one person can do that. This is just simply not true. Scholars do it every day with dissertations and United Nations reports and court cases, etc. So just putting it out there that although Noam Chomsky is in there, to not let that distract you from the scholarly information that function created, and to not dismiss it as corrupted, because ultimately what he presented was not his interpretation of the world, but it was more simply that it was what it was, and he was not at the time seemingly, uh, as far as I could tell, not in a bought off, biased frame of mind like Fox News and CBS and NBC and the New York Times. They are a completely different U.S. State Department mechanism of pure propaganda and bias. Another shout out goes to Double Down News, Amy at Democracy Now!, Secular Talk, and everyone out there that are independent journalists striving to give people a different way of going about things than simply and sort of passively absorbing opinions rather than the facts that those opinions are hiding. So I think that's pretty much it for this morning. I'm going to move through the day and get my sleepy eyes up and prep for what is ahead. Thank you for supporting the channel. Feel free to leave a comment, subscribe, share the channel. We're moving along. A shout out to Gaza, Lebanon, Iran. Words can't describe but I will say that my life has changed. It's still changing. I think once you know certain things, they know you. And when I say they, I don't mean like the deep state. I mean those things. And you change. It's just a fact. So if you want to change, know things. Thank you for supporting the channel, and until we meet again, have a good week.